Hi guys. Today's video I'll be focusing about how has been my experience across the different NFT projects, and the NFT projects which I'll be talking about, for the people who have been following my channel for a while now, they would be familiar with it because most of these projects I've talked about earlier as well. And in any case, my intention for this video was to share my experiences and the main lessons I've learned, both good and bad, based on the projects which did well and the projects which crashed or were or turned out to be rug pulls. So this is especially aimed at people who are still new to the NFT world and they are still trying to understand which projects they should focus on, which projects they should avoid. So I hope you find this video useful. And if there's anything additional or anything specific you want to ask or you have some doubts related to the NFT projects out there, do let me know in the comments. So the first project I would like to talk about is Mobox. This was in fact one of the first NFT gaming projects I got involved with. And in the screen you can see a video which I had uploaded about a year back in April 2021. And that time I had just completed my research about this project because it had just been launched and I was involved with the project since day one. And I was trying to understand what kind of reward, incentives, passive income they were planning to give out to their users and what was the mechanism for generating these rewards. And based on the research I had done, I thought that this would be very innovative and a unique project and definitely worth trying out. So I decided to try it out and I shared this video to explain what was so exciting for me about this NFT project. And that time, to be honest, I didn't know very well because whenever there is a completely new project which is trying out something which has not been done before, there is always a risk. But this was something like a calculated risk. I was aware of that, what is the risk and what will be the risk reward ratio. And that's why I took a informed decision that I'll go ahead with it. And this video went quite popular, and a lot of people uh, based on the inputs I had shared, they decided to try out the project. They had also asked me for some questions, follow-up questions about what's the project like, how to do, what to go about, what could be the risk, how safe is it, and so on, what will be the investment required. And I remember as much as I could, I helped people. For example, some people were asking how much investment was required. And I remember I started off with buying one rare Momo because they had different categories of the Momo and you could maximize your chances if you could buy a rare Momo or a higher rarity Momo. And at that time, it was costing about 2000. I started off with one rare Momo, and then I realized that to maximize the returns from the games they had launched, it would be better to have a set of three Momos with whom you can form a group. So later, I purchased two more, and my total investment had gone to about 5000. And I remember I was having a discussion that when the project started to get successful and people started earning a lot of rewards, a lot of new users went into the game, then the price of the rare momos surged. But at that time, I was in a bit of a doubt whether I should hold my momos or sell it. Finally, I decided to keep it because it was generating passive income and I thought that it would be like giving away a golden egg laying goose. So I decided to hold on to it, and now I'm glad that that over the last 1 year, this project has given me much more than 20,000, $25,000 in return. And in fact, initially the payout rate was very high. Some of it which I reinvested in the project to upgrade my NFTs as well. And here, the main lessons learned for me was that when you get into a project and if you've done proper research and you are aware of the risks involved and you are comfortable taking up that kind of risk, I think it's always better to be involved from right from day one. And I'll tell you why it was very relevant for me, at least in the case of Mobox, was that when Mobox launched, a lot of people were apprehensive about it, because it was something very new. It had not been tried before. And in fact, I remember that there were a lot of people coming in the comments that no, it looks so risky, it might be a scam, and a lot of people stayed away from it. But I'm sure that most of the people who joined the project from the early phases, they must have profited a lot from this project because this project has been running smoothly for 1 year. And anybody who got in early, he must have made a decent return on his investment. And in case of Mobox, what happened was initially when a very limited number of users were there, so it meant the rewards they were giving out were spread across few people. So I remember that there was a time when I would be making 200 to $300 a day just by passive income just for holding my momos. So I think very quickly, within a few weeks, I had already uh, received my investment back through the passive income, and so that's why I decided to hold it for a long term. And I that time I didn't expect that it would run so successfully for such a long term, close to 1 year. And so now when I see that this project has already completed 1 year and it is still running strong, then it's a and I think even now they are releasing new games. And as you can see, when I started out with this project, they had released the first game, which was called Token Master. They have now several other games released, and I see that you have two options to make earnings from these games. Some of them require you to spend some time playing every day, but some of them, like Token Master, have a few options available where you can earn passively because they have a sub game called Momo Adventure, where you just select your team for this game every day, and depending on the probability of what's your team tier selection, you will get a daily reward. And on top of that, even if you don't play any games, just by staking your momos, you would be receiving mbox, which is the native tokens rewarded every day. And as you can see, currently it's like 3.6 mbox a day. I remember there was a time when this was much higher, 20, 30 mbox per day. And mbox has been a quite a stable currency. I remember there was a time when suddenly a lot of users joined the project after successful launch of the first game, and it even crossed $10 as such. And I think it has dipped also to $1 at times, but I think most of the times it's between the $2 to $3 range. It's quite stable. And looking at the current developments and how they've been following their roadmap, I won't be surprised if this game continues to do well for many more years to come. So I plan to definitely hold my momos because they have appreciated a lot in value, but I plan to hold them and keep generating as much passive income as long as the project runs smoothly. So this was one of the more successful of the NFT projects I got involved with. And as I mentioned, that the passive income was quite lucrative in this case. So, and the main lessons I learned from this was that, like I mentioned earlier, that if you have a strong conviction in a project, try to get involved as early as possible because the highest returns would be made by people who join early. And also another advantage similar to this would be that when you join a project very early, your investment would be much less because what happens once the awareness and popularity of a NFT project or a game grows, then with the higher user base, higher demand, the price will also surge. So you would need to make a higher investment, which will also increase your risk because if a sudden pump happens, there's bound to be a correction. So and then you might start panicking, you might start getting worried about investment, you might sell it for a loss. So to avoid all those kind of situation, it's always better to get involved early when the low or minimum level of investment is required. And also, another important lesson for me, which I also took away to the next projects which I invested, was that some people buy NFTs just to flip it. They purchase it, and as soon as they get a bit of a profit, they sell it to get X percentage of profit. It can be 10%, 20%, depending on what people are targeting. But I realized that rather than going for a flipping, which also has a higher risk involved, it's always better to identify good projects which generate passive income daily. Because in that case, you continuously keep getting rewarded for your investments and you don't have to worry about what will be a good price to sell, what will be a good price to buy, is it a right time? You will not be worried if you sell a project and then it pumps. So, not to get into those kind of dilemmas, it's always better to look for something which gives out continuous passive income. Now, looking at the other side of the story, last year, I had also received information about a NFT project called Posies. And this was being recommended by one of the crypto influencers, which I used to follow. And I had followed a lot of his advice, and most of them did very well. So I'm not complaining here because, I made a lot of profit by his recommendations. So, considering the risk involved in crypto space, you're bound to run into some of the projects which will crash and not do well. But as soon as I joined this project, it got rugged. And if you look at the OpenSea collection here, you can see that the NFTs are now worthless. So, but the good thing is that I joined from the beginning, so I did not have to invest large amounts. I think I might have lost around 400 to $500. So it was not that big of loss for me. I still could recover. And but some of the lessons which I learned from even this project, which I had to suffer a loss, is that you should never trust any influencer blindly. You might be the best way is to I'm not saying that you should not listen to influencers because many of them are in this crypto space for several years and they have a very in-depth views and details about what kind of projects could be good. So you should definitely listen to them, but you should always do your own analysis before making a decision. After all, it's your money which you would be investing. So unless you are personally convinced, you should not put your money into a project. This is a mistake I did because I just rushed into a project without doing a detailed analysis by myself just because it was being shilled by one of the influencers I used to follow. Other important lesson learned for me was that whenever you're getting into a new project, do not invest heavily because whenever something starts new, the risk is higher, and based on what's your risk tolerance.